Rick and Marty discover the treasure after months of drilling and scouring. On this island, the crew has been searching for the so-called treasure, and there appears to be a breakthrough. Marty, Lagina, and Rick have arrived at the money pit to assess the progress of the garden shaft probe drilling operation. After approximately 3 inches of drilling, they attained the desired depth. When they reached a depth of approximately 93 feet, they believed they had arrived at the precise location, absolutely perfect in every way. After reaching what is believed to be the approximate depth of the tunnel that leads directly west into the potential treasure zone, the most pressing questions now are whether or not they will be able to find the structure and whether or not they will be able to investigate what it may contain. They believed it was the last day on Earth. In addition, there was absolutely no uncertainty about it. They had to pack up their possessions because they would only be actively searching for approximately half a day. They decided to disassemble the parts and investigate further, today at the very least before sunset. They removed the rods and began cleaning out the file, while simultaneously placing everything in a container and evaluating the situation to determine what was visible. Oak Island most assuredly does not readily divulge her secrets. They were anxious to collect any and all information they could find and, if possible, determine what the piece of wood was that was buried at the bottom of the garden shaft. After drawing a blank, a team member was confident that he had struck wood on the northern side of the board, despite drawing a blank previously. He was able to access the tunnel despite not being directly struck by the bullet. Nevertheless, he was not directly struck by the gunfire. Then, they proposed that they could use it to project the tunnel's line if they simply approached it from the side. This occurred after they realized it was feasible. They had not yet conducted a bottom inspection to determine the precise location of the tunnel at this point. After donning their protective gear, they descended the shaft. Even if they had contemplated it, they never in their wildest imaginings could have predicted that this moment would occur. After so much time, it was almost as if they were reliving a childhood fantasy. Now, in an effort to excavate these treasures, they are venturing into the money pit's depths, putting themselves in the same predicament as those who have come before them for literally hundreds of years. Despite the fact that time is running out, this problem will not be resolved in the immediate future. It is likely that whatever was intended to be discovered in this shaft was set there deliberately to facilitate its discovery. At this time, they believed that utilizing a metal detector would be advantageous in some manner. They only had a small amount of time left, so they decided to ask an experienced team member to use metal detecting equipment and investigate the cavity to see what they could find. Finally, it appears that they may be getting closer to finding the actual treasure. The landscape gave the appearance of being from the Middle Ages. During the reign of the Templars, it was almost as if they were imprisoned in a confinement within a fortress. They were still attempting to determine what was in the hole, but they had a suspicion that it contained a large number of modern nails and wire. They were extremely fortunate to have the CTX 3030, which not only allowed them to discover this but also featured all the bells and sirens associated with distinguishing features. They made immediate contact with something, but it was not a target composed of non-ferrous materials. They speculated it could be gold, silver, or even copper, but could not be certain. Is it conceivable that they discovered traces of the fabled treasure that was supposedly buried on Oak Island's murky soil? The new season is here. Lagena brother will be back to start a new excavation session in November.
10 years ago, we never would have anticipated going underground in the money pit.
What we're seeing is high-density anomaly below the surface of the money pit.
Yep. Will this be the most exciting historical season yet? The stage is set because the last 3 biggest finds from Season 10 have already taken the world by storm.
We need to get to the bottom of the garden shaft. Could be the offset chamber that we seek.
For people across the globe, the belief that they will finally solve a 228-year-old treasure mystery has never been higher. To start off, I am going to begin with analyzing the Lot 5 barter token. A couple of months after Gary found the Roman coin with Rick, he and Jack Begley fared well once again with a curious, non-ferrous target. But what did they find this time? A lead barter token. It was most likely used as a form of currency several centuries ago, but it wasn't made of silver or gold. But let me emphasize one thing here again. Lead artifacts found on Oak Island have sometimes proven to be the greatest clues in helping to solve the mystery. Meanwhile, when archaeometallurgist Emma Colligan analyzed the token, her initial take on its possible origin was more than compelling. But when chemist Dr. Chris McFarland conducted isotope testing on the lead, his laser-focused findings made for an unbelievable moment. According to my judgment and analysis, the object was relatively easy to identify because it was flat, a favorable characteristic for analysis. Yet, it wouldn't have been a piece of cake because it had a very thick, altered crust on it, indicating that it had been submerged for quite some time. Without a doubt, it has endured significant environmental changes over the years. Now hear this out.
The biggest result is that isotopically, it looks very similar to the cross.
No way. I wasn't expecting that.
The Lot 5 token was an exact compositional match to the 14th century lead cross, signifying that both originated from southern France, a region where the Knights Templar maintained a stronghold until the early 1300s. The lead in the disc apparently matches virtually identically with the lead in the lead cross, which is a head-scratcher. Another very significant thing that could tie the Templars to this location is the discovery of the Ys, and then all those other W's pieces are going to fall right into place. The second major discovery of this season is the real banger, because in the last dig of the year, they stumbled upon yet another puzzling discovery. This discovery marks the importance of direction, a possible map, to lead them to gold. It suggests that the gold is hidden somewhere deep within the money pit. The main focus remained on the money pit area, and they continued to excavate the B4C shaft. The B4C shaft is very close to reaching its full depth of around 90 feet. It is located barely 5 feet to the north of the borehole C. In the C1 cluster, including what might be evidence of wooden tunnels that date back to the 15th century. In addition, significant traces of silver and gold were found, which has led to conjecture on the site of the original money pit, as well as the likelihood of a tunnel that leads to a treasure room. The fact that they found gold deposits in the water is another motivator. But how they found these deposits is a tale in itself. They gathered samples in plastic bottles. The entire process aimed to ascertain whether gold was in the water and, if so, where it might be. Even so, what is the scientific basis for this fascinating jelly material? The blob is a complicated material, and it still needs to be clarified precisely what makes it up. The experts think it combines gold, iron, and sulfur. It is believed that the gold came from an organic gold deposit on Oak Island, the very bottom of the garden shaft, only a few feet below the surface of the ground. It's also conceivable that the signals are being sent through what is believed to be a tube that runs west towards the infant blob and is approximately 10 feet below the surface. It is a bittersweet moment because Dumas does not have the legal permits to extend the shaft deeper at this time of year, and they cannot risk the future of the project or the safety of their team by attempting to breach the bottom of the shaft to explore what could be dangerously unstable ground below the level of elation when they describe a non-ferrous hit. However, the discovery of a non-ferrous strike indicates the presence of a non-ferrous metal, which is cause for celebration. Dumas does not have the legal permissions to extend the shaft further at this time of the year, so the event is both thrilling and disappointing. At this time of year, the shaft can no longer be extended. It is extremely disheartening to realize that this objective cannot be achieved. Both the glacial tumulus system and the series of water-filled anhydrite holes that lie beneath Oak Island may be responsible for the periodic inundation of the pit. Oak Island is situated on top of a glacially formed tumulus system. Oak Island consists of a collection of glacial tumuli. This type of limestone is extremely susceptible to dissolution in the presence of water. Consequently, this process can result in the formation of caverns and other natural cavities. Near the excavation pit, bedrock may be encountered at depths spanning from 38 to 45 meters, 125 to 148 feet. People have been seeking for treasures and artifacts since the 18th century and have made numerous attempts to do so. The Holy Grail, Shakespearean manuscripts, pirate treasure, and the Ark of the Covenant are examples of the types of artifacts that have been suggested to be located on the island. In addition to the Holy Cross and the Holy Spire, it has been hypothesized that other objects exist on the island. According to a widely held theory, the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant were both interred on the island by the Knights Templar. Several items that were initially discovered on the island have progressively made their way to the island's surface over the years. Several of these objects have been subjected to carbon dating, and the results indicate that their ages span from the hundreds to the thousands of years. Enjoying this video so far? Have you yet subscribed? Be sure to do this and enable post notifications to be notified when the next discovery video becomes available. The Lagena brothers would almost certainly receive the preponderance of the wealth. The first piece of information we possess is that the treasure trove license encompasses the current Oak Island search being conducted by the Lagena brothers. This government regulation stipulates that licensed treasure hunters are permitted to legally retain 90% of any money they locate. Marty elaborates by speculating that if a significant treasure were to be discovered on Oak Island, it is likely that additional claimants will emerge and argue for their legal proprietorship of the treasure's contents. This is said to clarify his previous statement. These claimants may assert their ownership based on a characteristic of their place of residence, their familial history, or another factor. To state it more succinctly, a large number of individuals would attempt to acquire at least a portion of the mythical wealth. However, it is difficult to predict whether any of these individuals would be successful. At the end of the day, at least two parties stand to benefit from the wealth: the Lagena brothers and the government. Neither of these groups has an exclusive claim to the prospective benefits of wealth. Each of these parties would have a valid claim to at least a portion of the wealth, if not the entire sum. On the other hand, only the passage of time will reveal whether or not a situation similar to this will ever occur in the Curse of Oak Island. On a mysterious island, a research team unearths a wealth of treasure. Click the following video to see what they discovered. Island, and the soil in the vicinity provided the chemicals. In its aftermath, I think that the fusion of these materials created the pink blob. Meanwhile, Marty Lagena made light of the possibility that the island's secret would be kept in a little plastic bottle, despite 200 years of extensive expenditure and effort. In the war room, the men were gathered, and Marty demanded to know about the gold. Fortunately, he didn't let them down. And surprisingly, there is more good news. Dr. Dred Michel, a hydrogeologist, said that the concealed gold was located only a short distance from the sea. According to my calculations, it is between 80 and 110 feet deep. This is also consistent with earlier researchers who discovered an engraved stone at a height of 90 feet, or around the same level. It was thought the marking indicated the location of a hidden treasure. Meanwhile, Rick and Marty carried on with their first descent into the garden shaft. Faithful acorns know that the genesis of what would become the Curse of Oak Island began when Rick Lagena was just 11 years old, growing up in northern Michigan. There, he read a 5-page story in the Reader's Digest entitled Oak Island's Mysterious Money Pit. That one brief write-up of the fabled treasure pit and the questions about what it might contain would captivate both him and his younger brother Marty for nearly 50 years until they could take over the hunt themselves. And after more than a decade into their quest, once the garden shaft reconstruction was nearing completion during Season 10, Rick, accompanied by Scott Barlow and Roger Fora, got to make his first descent underground in the money pit area. Since evidence of gold was detected in the garden shaft during its reconstruction, once it was completed to a depth of 82 feet, Marty got his first chance to experience what he had only read about as a child. The Onslow employees next excavated through a level platform or an unidentified vault structure, but they had to stop when the shaft flooded. Significantly, it has been hypothesized by the Oak Island crew that the laborers may have discovered the treasure vault. The team believes that the gold may have been brought to the money pit throughout the course of the dig and will continue to pursue the progress as to their objective. The objective of the search for the money pit on Oak Island was not only to obtain cash, but also to solve the island's mysteries and unearth its concealed history. A research team has just made a groundbreaking discovery that will affect the entire planet. Discover by viewing the following video. researchers discovered something incredible in the Oak Island money pit. Oak Island is a sequestered location off the south coast of Nova Scotia, and for generations, people have been fascinated by the island. Finally, researchers discovered something unbelievable in the Oak Island money pit. A large number of academics, scientists, and explorers are intrigued by the possibility of uncovering the mysteries buried beneath the island's surface. It may seem like an exciting adventure on a real-life treasure island, but bear in mind that many individuals have risked their entire fortunes in an attempt to make a fortune on this island. Some unfortunate individuals have even lost their lives in the process, only to have nothing to show for it in the end. The entrance of the Lagena brothers, who have joined the long list of treasure hunters attempting to solve the island's mysteries, has brought about a recent change in the status quo. The Lagena brothers are confident that they possess the skills necessary to locate the fabled treasure said to be buried on Oak Island, and ultimately, these researchers discovered something in the Oak Island money pit that you won't believe. Join us as we observe them as they investigate this 200-year-old enigma, and together we will determine if there is, in fact, hidden wealth on the island. Throughout the course of their expedition, they stumble upon some astounding discoveries that will astound you. The Lagena brothers have devoted a substantial portion of their careers to locating buried wealth. It is understandable why anyone would be captivated by the prospect of unearthing centuries-old treasure buried by someone in the past. Unfortunately, similar to a large number of other visitors to the island, the brothers initially encountered difficulties and failed in their endeavors. Rick and Marty were fortunate in that their treasure hunting efforts did not go unnoticed. The A&E network became aware of the brothers' work, and recognizing the potential for a compelling series about treasure hunters investigating Oak Island, decided to collaborate with them on a series titled The Curse of Oak Island. It's quite eerie, wouldn't you say? Thanks to their cooperation with the television network, the brothers were able to recover the funds that they had previously spent on their travels to the island. Their research activities attained an entirely new level after receiving financial support from the network and other investors. It is essential to note, however, that despite the influx of wealth, the Lagena brothers and their new investors did not make any noteworthy discoveries during the first 2 seasons of their program. This is something that must be recognized. Despite this, they demonstrated an admirable amount of patience, which is commendable because, as the saying goes, patience is a virtue. After 3 seasons of searching, the explorers on Oak Island finally made significant discoveries that aroused their curiosity. The discovery of a ceremonial Roman sword suggested that Roman soldiers may have visited Oak Island before Christopher Columbus. This major accomplishment opened a floodgate of opportunities for the crew, and as they diligently combed the island for riches, they discovered a wide variety of artifacts and antiquities. A handcrafted replica of a map of France was one of their discoveries, which aroused their interest in the artifact. In order to conduct the analysis, they enlisted the assistance of historian and maritime expert Zena Halpern. After determining that the map was created in 1647, Halpern theorized that the resources it indicated may have originated in Africa. During the course of their investigation, the Lagena brothers and the rest of their crew discovered fragments of a book, which further investigation revealed to be a bookbinder. After making this discovery, the brothers began to contemplate the possibility that they had not yet discovered additional buried manuscripts on the island. A fragment of parchment made from animal skin was yet another fascinating artifact discovered. William Chappell and Frederick Blair, explorers of Oak Island, have been hypothesized to be involved. In the 15th century, when the document was created, only the wealthy could afford to dispatch mail. In addition, the explorers discovered a number of gold coins near a pit that became known as the Money Pit. This location sparked the island's obsession with treasure that has persisted for the past 2 centuries. Unfortunately, a recurring issue with flooding halted Chappell and Blair's treasure hunting expedition when the Money Pit became submerged in water, preventing them from making any further progress. After Chappell and Blair led the way, many others attempted to find treasure on Oak Island, but unfortunately none were successful. Chappell and Blair were only the beginning of a long line of people who followed in their footsteps. The issue of where the loot was hidden evaded even President Roosevelt, despite his best efforts. Despite numerous abortive attempts, the search for treasure on the island continued indefinitely. This was due to the efforts. They dug 5 enormous shafts over the course of several months and discovered indications of its existence. As they were on the verge of disclosing a long-held secret, these discoveries inspired renewed optimism. However, pursuing the money pit had been an arduous and challenging endeavor for centuries. The quest was fraught with obstacles that required unwavering resolve and originality. Motivated by the possibility of acquiring a priceless treasure that had eluded countless others, the team descended into the money pit in search of the enigmatic treasure. The crew began a difficult mission with the knowledge that obstacles lay ahead. They actively sought out new technologies and strategies to surmount the obstacles. They pursued the treasure with great determination, expecting that their efforts would pay off. However, their journey was not solely motivated by prosperity. Oak Island's search for the money pit had a deeper significance. The exploration was motivated by a desire to uncover the mysterious mysteries that had captivated people for centuries. With each stage, the team delved deeper into Oak Island's complexities, driven by an insatiable desire to uncover its hidden truths. The team's unwavering dedication to resolving Oak Island's mysteries was demonstrated by their unflinching pursuit. Their unyielding determination and tenacity accentuated the noble pursuit of knowledge and discovery, resulting in an enduring tale that will forever be associated with human curiosity. Oak Island has been an enigma for centuries, attracting the attention of treasure hunters, historians, and conspiracy theorists. With each new discovery made by the devoted exploration crew, the allure of the island has grown. Experts were astounded to discover a paved area in the wetland, a peculiar anomaly. In addition, they discovered a 500-year-old stone road, shedding light on the island's ancient history and heightening the mystery encircling its secrets. A mid-15th century rock drill was discovered in the B4C shaft, which was possibly the most astonishing discovery. This artifact has prompted speculation about the island's hidden history and valuable treasures. As Oak Island continues to disclose its secrets, the world eagerly anticipates additional discoveries and the chance to decipher its ancient mysteries. The Lagena brothers and their devoted team embarked on an extraordinary voyage to uncover Oak Island's long-held secret.